My name is Leo Hayes, and I'm a professional trophy husband. My sole job is to cater to my billionaire wife, Ava Chun, with whom I have a contract, not a marriage. For 3 years, my performance has been flawless. The adoring, supportive husband who loves her to death. My role is to be the perfect, unobtrusive backdrop for her and her old flame. Everyone in our circle smirks, calling me a pathetic gold digger, a placeholder with no dignity. But I'm just waiting for Ava to honor our agreement. After 3 years of my perfect husband act, she gives me a sprawling penthouse overlooking the Hudson, $10 million in cash, and then kicks me to the curb. But I never expected this. On the day our 3-year contract was up, she got into a car accident. I knelt by her hospital bed, looking at her comatose form, and cried more convincingly than anyone. Inside, though, I was ecstatic. If Ava actually dies, I thought, my mind racing, doesn't that mean I legally inherit her entire estate? That's a 10-figure net worth. I'd be set for life. Hell, for 10 lifetimes. Just as I was secretly celebrating my potential windfall, her eyes snapped open. "What were you just thinking?" she asked. I looked up, my eyes instantly welling with tears. I gazed at her with profound devotion, my voice trembling. "I was thinking that if you're okay, I'd die for you in a heartbeat. I'd do anything." Perfect. The line, the delivery. I'm almost moved myself. But Ava didn't react with her usual icy impatience. She just stared at me. Her stunning, usually expressionless face was filled with something I'd never seen before. A mixture of shock, confusion, and utter disbelief. Did she lose her mind? Looking at her beautiful face, a dark premonition crept over me. Did the crash scramble her brains? She was staring at me so intently it was starting to freak me out. "What are you looking at? Never seen an Oscar-worthy performance before?" I grumbled internally. Just as I was wondering if she was seriously brain damaged, Caleb Reed couldn't stay quiet any longer. Dressed in a crisp white suit, he leaned in, his tone a perfect blend of concern and accusation. "Leo, what is up? Ava just woke up. Are you trying to upset her? You should apologize right now." See, the guy's a master of the backhanded compliment, subtly painting me as the villain. Normally, Ava would have seized the opportunity to tear into me. But today, she just waved a dismissive hand, her eyes never leaving my face. After Ava was discharged, the atmosphere at our penthouse became deeply weird. She was no longer cold as ice, but she wasn't exactly warm, either. Mostly, she just watched me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. "Lady, if you keep looking at me like that, I'm going to start thinking you have a secret crush on me. This is creepy as hell." Every day, under that bizarre scrutiny, I diligently continued my role as the devoted husband. One afternoon, I was in the living room playing Call of Duty with a sheet mask on when Caleb showed up with a fruit basket. "Leo, how's Ava feeling?" "I just wanted to stop by and see her," he asked with that polished, gentle voice of his, though his eyes were scanning me like a radar, lingering on the 24-karat gold mask on my face. "Still looking? Jealous? This is part of the job description, buddy. It's called professional upkeep." I grumbled to myself while immediately plastering on a warm smile and pulling off the mask. "Caleb, that's so thoughtful of you. Ava's in her study. Please have a seat." Ava emerged from the study at the sound of his voice. Caleb instantly puffed up like a peacock, rushing over to her. "Ava, how are you feeling today? I brought you some imported fruit." As they started their little ritual, oblivious to my presence, I tactfully started to head upstairs. "Leo, don't go," Caleb called out, his gaze landing precisely on my wrist. "That's a beautiful watch. Was it a gift from Ava?" My stomach dropped. The watch was from Ava's father. He'd never given me the time of day, but the watch was a limited edition Patek Philippe, worth well into 7 figures. Are you kidding me? It would be a cold day in hell before Ava bought me something this nice. The stock market would have to hit 100,000 first. Oh, here we go. The classic setup. He's going to ask to see it, then accidentally drop it, then offer a tearful apology. It makes me look like a materialistic brat, makes him look innocent, and then Ava has to comfort him. I bet $1,000 the script goes exactly like this. My mind was already playing out the scene. I gave a shy smile. It was from Dad. "Wow, he really spoils you," Caleb said, his eyes wide with feigned envy. Then he asked cautiously, "Leo, could take a closer look? I'm a bit of a watch aficionado myself." He looked so earnest and eager that refusing would have made me look petty. I glanced at Ava. She was leaning against the sofa, her expression unreadable. No help coming from that direction. "Fine. You're the main characters." I forced myself to start unclasping the watch band. "Sure. Of course." Just as the watch was about to leave my wrist, Caleb let out a sudden "oh" and stumbled, lurching right into me. Crack! The sharp sound of shattering glass echoed through the silent living room. The magnificent watch lay on the polished marble floor, its face completely destroyed. There goes my 7 figures. No, wait, it's a Chun family heirloom. Caleb's reaction was faster than mine. He immediately knelt, his voice filled with remorse. I'm so sorry. Leo, I'm so sorry. It's all my fault. I lost my balance. Something so valuable. He looked so heartbroken you'd think it was his own heart shattered on the floor, not the watch. I stood there, frozen, my face pale, my eyes filling with tears on cue. The perfect portrayal of a kept man, shocked and devastated, but too afraid to get angry. Not bad, dude. With acting skills like that, you're wasting your time here. You should be in Hollywood. Okay, the ball's in Ava's court now. According to the script, she should rush over, help up her darling Caleb, and then turn on me with an icy glare, saying, it's just a watch. How could it be more important than Caleb? I looked at Ava, half expecting her to deliver the final, crushing blow. But Ava didn't move. She didn't even glance at Caleb, who was still kneeling in a puddle of his own fake guilt, nor at the pile of broken parts on the floor. Her gaze was fixed directly on my face, and in her eyes, there was a flicker of scrutiny and annoyance. What was she annoyed about? That I wasn't immediately starting a screaming match with Caleb. What are you looking at me for? Look at your old flame. He's waiting for you to comfort him. Why aren't you following the script? Next, he's supposed to say I'll pay for it, then take off his own watch to humiliate me. Countdown starts. 5, 4, 3. Leo, I'm truly sorry, Caleb said, right on cue, lifting his guilt-ridden eyes. He sighed dramatically as he took off his own Vacheron Constantine. I know this one isn't as valuable as yours, but it's my favorite. Please take it. Otherwise, I'll never forgive myself. He held the watch out, looking pitifully at me, then at Ava. The room was dead silent. Just when I thought Ava would push me to graciously accept, she finally spoke. That won't be necessary. 3 words. Caleb's expression froze, the gesture suspended in midair. Ava slowly stood up and walked toward us. She looked down at Caleb, her eyes completely devoid of warmth. The housekeeper just mopped. The floor's a little slippery. Be more careful next time. She paused, then turned toward the hall. Maria, show Mr. Read out. Caleb's face went from apologetic to utterly stunned, the color draining from his cheeks. I was stunned too. What? What was this? She didn't comfort Caleb. She didn't blame me. She just kicked him out. As Maria escorted Caleb to the door, he shot me a look that could kill. The living room was silent again, occupied only by me, Ava, and the wreckage on the floor. She looked at me with that same indecipherable expression. For the first time, a genuine sense of panic fluttered in my chest. This woman, who I thought I had completely figured out, had suddenly become a stranger. Something, somewhere, had fundamentally changed. After Caleb was shown the door, I cautiously knelt and began picking up the pieces of the watch. I kept my head down, not daring to look at Ava, but my mind was a chaotic mess. What the hell is wrong with her today? Instead of defending her precious Caleb and tearing me down, she kicked him out? Could it be a pang of conscience? No way. She fed her conscience to the stray dogs years ago. I get it. She must have thought Caleb's acting was so bad it was embarrassing. Yeah, that has to be it. My heart aches for my father-in-law's watch. That thing was worth a couple of sports cars, and now it's junk. If the old man finds out, he'll have my hide. Nope, I'm not taking the fall for this. While my mind was scheming up ways to deflect blame, I spoke in the most heartbroken tone I could muster. Ava, I'm so sorry. It's my fault. I should have held on tighter. If your father asks. It's just a watch. Ava cut me off, her voice flat. I looked up and met her deep, unreadable eyes. She had repeated the exact line I had scripted for her in my head, but the tone, the context, it was all wrong. There was no comfort, no defense of Caleb, only a chilling, unnerving calm. Don't worry about it. I'll handle it. With that, she turned and went back into her study, closing the door with a soft click. I remained frozen, staring at the closed door, the feeling of unease growing stronger. Her reaction was completely off script. In the days that followed, Ava grew even more withdrawn. She stopped giving me those strange looks, but the tension in the penthouse was thicker than ever. She would lock herself in her study for hours on end. I was perfectly happy with the peace and quiet. I spent my days at the gym, playing video games, and counting down the days until the contract expired. My mood was soaring. One night, I was humming to myself as I walked out of the bathroom. I passed the study and noticed the door was slightly ajar, a sliver of light spilling into the hallway. Curious, I tiptoed closer to see what she was up to. Through the crack, I saw Ava sitting at her desk, holding a document, lost in thought. Her cool profile was cast in shadow by the desk lamp. That document. It looked familiar. I squinted, and my heart skipped a beat. Wasn't it the marriage contract we signed 3 years ago? She had dug out. I held my breath, the hair on my arms standing on end. Holy shit. What's she doing? We're at the finish line. Why is she pulling out the contract now? Is she planning to renege? Is she going to screw me out of the penthouse and the $10 million? I knew it. These corporate sharks are all the same. Ava Chun, you backstabbing. If you dare screw me over, I swear I'll burn this place to the ground. I was seething, ready to storm in there and demand answers. But losing my cool now would do me no good. I took a deep breath, forced down my rage, and started to back away quietly, planning to retreat to my room and strategize. Just then, Ava moved. She slowly lifted her head, and our eyes met in the dim hallway. Her expression was something I'd never seen before. Shattered. Yes, shattered. Like a broken mirror, reflecting shock, pain, and self-mockery. She held up the contract, her voice hoarse. Leo, these past 3 years. Has it all been an act? My heart sank into my stomach. She knows. How could she know? She's known the terms of the contract from the beginning. I forced myself to stay calm, my face quickly morphing into the familiar look of confused innocence she knew so well. Ava, what are you talking about? What act? I gently pushed the door open and walked toward her, my eyes turning red on command. I don't understand. Ava watched me approach her step by step, watched the flawless performance on my face. And then, she let out a low laugh, a laugh filled with endless sorrow and self-deprecation. She slapped the contract down on the desk with a sharp rustle. You don't understand? She repeated, her eyes red-rimmed. Leo, I'm asking you, do you really want to leave me that badly? Duh. You want me to stick around and be the third wheel for you and your boy toy? What, for the holidays? Just 3 more months. 3 months. I just have to endure a little longer. Freedom and fortune are calling my name. I can't blow it now. I was giving myself a pep talk while my voice trembled with emotion. Ava, I don't know why you're suddenly saying this. I love you. Why would I ever want to leave you? Unless you don't want me anymore. As I spoke, a single, perfectly timed tear rolled down my cheek. I expected this performance, like all the others over the past 3 years, to be met with her usual cold indifference. This time, however, the last glimmer of light in her eyes was extinguished the moment I finished my sentence. That night ended in a stalemate. She didn't press me further, just locked herself in the study and didn't come out. I went back to my room, my mind a tangled mess. Stay calm, Leo. As long as you don't admit anything, she's got nothing on you. It's just 3 more months. You've been acting for 3 years. Don't drop the ball at the 1-yard line. I spent the whole night building up my mental defenses. The next day, I was once again the loving husband who adored her to his very core. I made her breakfast and saw her off to work, the same gentle, appropriate smile on my face, as if last night's confrontation had never happened. Ava gave me a long, deep look, said nothing, and left for the office. And then, Ava started being nice to me, and it wasn't an act. She started coming home on time, no longer staying out all night. At the dinner table, she'd asked what I did all day, though her tone was still clipped. She even turned down Caleb when he called to ask her out, telling him flatly, I'm busy, for the first time in front of me. This belated tenderness felt like a barrage of sugar-coated bullets, leaving me completely disoriented. 3 years ago, I might have wept with gratitude. Now it just felt terrifying. What new game is this woman playing? Good cop, bad cop. Is she trying to buy me off with a few scraps of kindness, so I'll forget about the 10 million and the penthouse? In her dreams, my principles are ironclad. I will not be swayed by cheap tactics. One evening, Ava came home surprisingly early, carrying a shopping bag. She placed it in front of me, her expression a little unnatural, her voice stiff. I was passing them all and picked this up. I opened it and my jaw dropped. It was the new impossible-to-find, special edition PS5 bundle. The very same one I had mentally complained about 100 times while gaming just days ago. God, the first thing I'm doing when I get my money is throwing out this piece of junk and getting that new console. My mind was reeling, but my face showed an expression of being so deeply moved I was on the verge of tears. Ava, how'd you know I wanted this? Ava's eyes flickered, and she swallowed hard. Of course she didn't know. She had never cared about what I liked. Holy crap, did she bug me? She even knows the stuff I'm ranting about in my own head. What the hell does this woman want? This is terrifying. It's psychological manipulation. A blatant sugar-coated attack. She's trying to break down my defenses, make me feel dependent and grateful, so that in the end, I'll willingly walk away with nothing. Damn it, what a vicious strategy. The more I thought about it, the more horrified I became, a cold sweat breaking out on my back. Ava's expression visibly darkened. A wave of profound disappointment and pain washed over her eyes. "I'm glad you like it," she said, then turned and walked upstairs, her posture radiating an air of desolation and exhaustion. I looked at the brand-new console on the table, then at her lonely figure retreating up the stairs, completely bewildered. Why is she upset now? Was my move to tears performance not convincing enough? It should have been. My micro-expressions and tear ducts were perfectly calibrated to mimic the classic reactions of a romantic drama lead. A woman's mind is a goddamn enigma. Whatever. I'm not going to dwell on it. If she doesn't want to be around, great. A brand new, expensive console all to myself. Awesome. I gleefully scooped up the PS5, forgot all about dinner, and dove headfirst into the world of gaming. Upstairs, in the study, Ava leaned against the door and slowly slid to the floor. She lifted a hand and covered her face in agony. Her first clumsy attempt at a peace offering had, to her, sounded like a premeditated, sinister plot. Ava laid low for a few days. There were no more sudden gestures of goodwill, just a consistent schedule of coming home on time. We were like roommates, with almost zero interaction outside of the dinner table. I actually liked this new dynamic. As long as she didn't pull any stunts and we could coast to the contract's end date, I could make a clean exit. But clearly, someone didn't want me to have it that easy. One day, while I was gaming, I got a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end was distorted and menacing. "Is this Leo Hayes? We have your wife, Ava Chun, an abandoned warehouse in Queens. Come alone. If you call the cops, you'll be picking up her body bag." The line went dead. I held the phone, stunned, for a full 3 seconds. A kidnapping? Are you serious? This is a plot from a cheesy romance novel. I can't believe this is happening in real life. And come alone? Who do you think I am? Captain America? These kidnappers are total amateurs. Before I could even process this dramatic turn of events, my phone rang again. This time it was Caleb. His voice was so strained with manufactured panic, he was practically shrieking. "Leo, it's terrible. Ava was kidnapped by a corporate rival. The kidnappers called me. They want me to save her. I'm so scared. What do I do?" I blinked. Okay, I get it. This whole thing was directed by Caleb himself. "Dude, your script is terrible. Why would the kidnappers call both the husband and the old flame? You're just asking for us to compare notes and expose your whole charade." His goal is obvious. He wants to use this as a chance to stage a risking it all for love drama for Ava, while painting me as a coward who's too scared to save his own wife. It's childish, but effective. After all, that's exactly the kind of crap Ava falls for. My mind was crystal clear, but my voice was a perfect imitation of panic. "WH what? Kidnapped? Caleb, don't be scared. I'm on my way." After hanging up, I immediately changed clothes, ready to leave. If we're putting on a show, you have to go all in. I was just about to burst out the door in a heroic sprint when I ran headfirst into Ava, who was just getting back from the gym. She stood there in her workout clothes, a sheen of sweat on her forehead, perfectly fine and not the least bit kidnapped. We stared at each other. The air froze. "Me? Ava? Oh, for fuck's sake, this is a 5-alarm social disaster. Why is she home? Didn't that idiot Caleb do any research before staging his little play?" The expression on my face was more horrified than if I'd seen a ghost. Ava's expression was equally complex, a mixture of curiosity and something else I couldn't quite place. She didn't ask about the phone call. She just asked calmly, "Are you going out?" My brain went into overdrive, scrambling for an excuse. A friend invited me out to dinner." "Yes, dinner. That's it. I will not admit I got a call from that moron, or my intelligence will be dragged down to the level of his acting." Ava was silent for a moment. Then she took out her phone and dialed a number. "Hello, Liz," she said, her voice cold as steel. "Find out where Caleb Reed is right now." My heart leaped into my throat. She knew. She must have gotten a call, too. Oh, this is going to be good. A self-righteous fraud, a secretly omniscient CEO, and me, pretending I know nothing. The three of us have enough drama for our own Oscar bait film. Ava hung up and looked at me, her eyes filled with a meaning I couldn't decipher. "You want to get dinner?" A rare, sharp smile touched her lips. "As it happens, I have some business out in Queens myself. Let's go together, Mr. Hayes." The way she said Mr. Hayes sent a shiver down my spine. I had a very strong feeling that Ava was taking me to watch the show unfold. Live. Inside the abandoned warehouse in Queens, Ava and I sat in her car, parked at a safe distance, watching the ridiculous pantomime play out. Just as expected, Caleb arrived, a briefcase supposedly full of cash in hand, looking every bit the valiant hero. Two masked kidnappers rushed out and started roughing him up. Caleb screamed, "Take whatever you want, just let Ava go." His performance was so over the top, it was painful to watch. I sat in the car, thoroughly entertained. His acting is way worse than mine. The facial expressions are too exaggerated. The lines are cliches. No soul. And those two kidnappers are clearly day players he hired off Craigslist. Zero professionalism. One of them is wearing his mask upside down. God, what a pathetic, sloppy production. Just as I was enjoying the show, Ava spoke from beside me, her voice low and haunting. "Do you think I should go down there and save him?" My heart stuttered. Was she testing me? Yes. Go. It's the perfect hero rescues the damsel moment. You two can ride off into the sunset. Go now. I cheered internally. Out loud, my voice was filled with urgent concern. Of course you have to. Caleb's all alone. It's too dangerous. Ava, go. Don't worry about me. The more magnanimous I appeared, the more it would highlight Caleb's true love. After I spoke, Ava gave me a long, deep look. She didn't get out of the car. Instead, she took out her phone and, right in front of me, dialed 911. When the call connected, her voice was completely calm. "Hello, police. There's a public brawl at the abandoned warehouse district in Queens. It looks like an illegal transaction of some sort. I suggest you dispatch officers immediately." She hung up, then turned to me, a slow smile spreading across her face as she took in my stunned expression. "Come on, Leo. Let's go see how this little play ends." The wail of police sirens was the closing music for Caleb's terrible production. When several officers stormed out of their cars and tackled the two kidnappers who were still deep in their performance, the heroic look on Caleb's face froze solid. His lie was exposed in the most public way possible. He was speechless, and in the end, he was politely invited to the station for filing a false police report and disturbing the peace. Through it all, Ava never looked at him again. The drive back was less tense. I sat in the passenger seat, secretly studying Ava's profile. Her jaw was tight, but there seemed to be the faintest hint of a smile at the corner of her mouth. Is she mad? She can't be. Her old flame just played a little prank on her. For a titan of industry, she's being pretty petty. Then again, nobody likes being played for a fool, especially by someone you supposedly care about. Well, she must finally see Caleb for who he really is now, right? Just as I was reveling in Caleb's downfall, Ava spoke. "Don't you have anything you want to ask?" I blinked, immediately slipping back into my cautious persona. I trust you, Ava. I'm sure Caleb was just worried about you and made a foolish mistake." I continued my role as the benevolent saint, understanding, forgiving, and utterly magnanimous. Ava slammed on the brakes, pulling the car over to the side of the road. She turned and stared at me, her eyes simmering with a deep, suppressed pain. "Leo," she practically spat my name through clenched teeth. "Do you even have a heart?" Here it comes. The misdirected anger. She can't handle her boyfriend, so she takes it out on me, her personal punching bag. Classic toxic behavior. I sneered internally, but my face was a mask of confusion and hurt. "Ava, how could you say that to me?" She looked at my airtight performance, and the agony in her eyes deepened. She seemed to want to say more, but in the end, she just slumped back against the seat and started the car again. We finally stopped in front of an old, stately mansion, the Chun family estate. In 3 years of marriage, she had never brought me here. She led me into the somber house. In the dim light, I saw a black and white portrait of a gentle-looking woman hanging on the wall. "Do you think I'm pathetic?" she asked, her back to me as she stood before the portrait, her voice laced with self-mockery. Her body stiffened. She turned to face me, her eyes holding a vulnerability I'd never seen before. "My father died when I was young. My mother raised me and ran this entire company on her own. She was tough. She never allowed me to be weak. Caleb came into my life during my most rebellious phase. He was gentle, like the idealized father I never had." My mind reeled. Holy shit, what a bombshell. Daddy issues. I was never in love with him, Ava said softly. He was just an emotional anchor. When I looked at him, I saw a version of myself that was allowed to be weak, allowed to make mistakes. That's why I've always indulged him. I stared at her dumbfounded. So, to her, Caleb was just a stand-in, a psychological projection of her missing father and a softer past. Jesus, this is more screwed up than a soap opera. Does that mean I, the official husband, was the replacement for the replacement? It's like Inception, but for relationships. I was completely stunned by this shocking revelation. And Ava, watching my shocked expression, had a glimmer of hope in her eyes. She probably thought that learning about her tragic past would make me feel a shred of sympathy for her. She was wrong. All I could think was, the saying, pitiable people have their detestable side, was practically written for you, Ava. But none of that matters now. The most important thing is that the biggest obstacle, her old flame, is out of the picture. My 10 million and the penthouse should be a sure thing now, right? After returning from the family estate, Ava was a different person. She stopped trying to be nice to me, but she also stopped the cold remarks. She just became quiet. She went to work, managed her billion-dollar empire, and came home to sit alone in the vast, empty living room, lost in thought. The way she looked at me no longer held any curiosity or judgment, only a deep, profound exhaustion I couldn't understand. I knew she was waiting, and I was waiting too. We were both waiting for the same day to arrive. Hey, you haven't forgotten, have you? Our contract is up in 1 month. What's the point of all this belated affection now? You can't possibly think you can make me feel so touched that I'll tear up the contract and volunteer to stay on as your free arm candy, right? Give me a break. I just want my money so I can retire. Finally, the last day of the 3-month extension arrived. It was our wedding anniversary and the termination date of our contractual marriage. Ava seemed to have completely forgotten about the latter. She had booked a table at the city's most romantic rotating restaurant, complete with dazzling skyline views and a string quartet. She wore a soft, moon-white dress I'd never seen before, shedding her icy corporate armor. She was breathtaking. The candlelight flickered, the atmosphere thick with romance. Ava sat across from me, her dark eyes filled with a nervous, almost desperate hope. She produced a velvet box and slid a diamond ring that looked like it cost a fortune across the table toward me. Leo, she began, her voice softer and more sincere than I had ever heard it. I know, I haven't been fair to you. Can we start over? For real this time? I looked at the starlight in her eyes, then at the massive rock on the table. Wow, that thing is huge. Is this a proposal? A contract renewal? Sorry, Ms. Chun. I quit. Under Ava's hopeful gaze, I didn't touch the ring. Instead, I reached into my jacket, pulled out another document, and placed it gently on the table in front of her. It was the divorce agreement, already prepared, already signed by me. Ava, I said, looking up with the first genuine, relieved smile I'd shown her in 3 years. Happy 3rd anniversary. And here's to a happy divorce. The warmth and hope on Ava's face shattered. What? What is this? It's exactly what it looks like, I said, my tone light and breezy. Our contract is up today. And you know what? You can keep the penthouse and the money. I just want to get the paperwork done and get my freedom back. I didn't even want the money anymore. I just wanted to escape this woman, who was becoming more unpredictable and strange by the day. Why? Her eyes were red as she grabbed my wrist, her grip like iron. What did I do wrong? I'll give you anything you want. Why are you doing this? Lady, have you been playing the domineering CEO for so long you've forgotten how to be a real person? I looked at her pain, desperate expression, and felt nothing but a cold sense of amusement. Where was all this passion for the last 3 years? You think a month of trying can erase 3 years of cold shoulders and emotional neglect? I was done playing games. I calmly pulled my hand away. Ava, stop making a scene. This was always a business transaction, and now the transaction is over. My words struck her like a physical blow. She stared at me, the light in her eyes cracking, fading, until nothing was left but a dead, empty void. The romantic music from a string quartet played on, a painfully ironic soundtrack to our dissolution. Transaction over? She suddenly laughed, a sound more painful than a sob. Leo, who gave you the right to say it's over? She stood and walked toward me, her beautiful eyes burning with a wild, desperate fire I'd never seen before. I got rid of Caleb for you. I tried to learn how to be a good wife. Why? Why couldn't you just turn around and look at me? She screamed. I just stared back at her coolly and stated a simple fact. Ava, I don't love you. I never have. That sentence was the final straw. All the fight went out of her. Her hand, still gripping my arm, began to tremble uncontrollably. Then, she laughed again, tears streaming down her face. Heh, so that's how it is. She stumbled backward. And then she said it. Leo, I can't hear you, since the car accident. Every single thought in your head. I can hear it, she said. What? She can hear me. My first reaction wasn't fear. It was disbelief. Is this some kind of joke? Mind reading? What's next? You're Professor X. Is this some new, twisted psychological tactic to make me lose my mind? I stared at her, searching her face for any sign of a lie. There was none. Her expression was one of complete and utter devastation. My heart began to pound against my ribs, hard and fast. An absurd, terrifying thought clawed its way up from the darkest corner of my mind. No, no way. Absolutely impossible. I screamed at myself internally, but at the same time, an idea for a test popped into my head, completely unbidden. If you can really hear me, I thought, like a gambler betting his last shred of sanity. Then, raise your right hand and touch your left earlobe. The thought had barely formed in my mind. The next second, under my horrified gaze, Ava's hand, the one wearing the expensive watch, trembled as it slowly rose. Her fingertips gently, deliberately, touched her left earlobe. Boom! The last thread of my sanity snapped. The world tilted and spun around me. It was real. It was actually real. Countless moments, countless bizarre reactions that I had dismissed, now rushed back into my memory, connecting into a single, horrifying truth that chilled me to the bone. At the hospital, why she looked like she'd seen a ghost after I said I'd die for her. Because she'd heard me thinking, why don't you just die? The shattered watch. Why she didn't blame Caleb, but instead looked at me with such annoyance. Because she had heard my entire play-by-play of his pathetic scheme. The PS5, the botched kidnapping. All my performances, she saw right through them. All my cynical commentary, she heard every word. All this time, I was the one who was the clueless clown. Leo, her voice was choked with tears, but eerily calm. There are no more secrets now. Is there anything else you'd like to say to me? Say to her? What could I possibly say? My mind was a dead, silent blank. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. I looked at her, this woman I had been mentally torturing for months. This lunatic who knew every dark corner of my mind and still, somehow, wanted to save us. Seeing my silence, Ava took a step forward, a tiny, fragile spark of hope reigniting in her eyes. Leo, there are no secrets between us anymore, right? She ventured, her voice shaking. We can start over. I can. Start over. I cut her off, the idea so absurd it was laughable. How do we start over? On the foundation that you can permanently hear my thoughts. I took a step toward her, closing the distance, for the first time speaking to her as an equal, even with a sense of menace. Ava, have you ever stopped to think what this ability of yours means for me? Her face paled. It means I will never have a moment of peace. It means that even having a private thought is a betrayal to you. It means I've escaped a prison where I had to act, only to be thrown into a much more advanced prison where my very thoughts are monitored. My words were knives, slicing through her last illusions, while my inner thoughts were the executioner's blade. Every word I say will be subject to your approval. Every thought that crosses my mind will be inspected by you. If I'm happy, you'll judge the reason for my happiness. If I'm sad, you'll spy on the source of my sorrow. Ava, that's not love. That's the most sophisticated form of psychological torture imaginable. My thoughts smashed the last of her hope to pieces. She let her arms fall limp at her sides and covered her face in agony. She was right. The ability she thought was her trump card, the key to my secrets, was the very reason I could never, ever forgive her. To her, it was a shortcut to absolute honesty. To me, it was a one-way ticket to absolute damnation. A chasm now lay between us, one that could never be crossed. So, she said, lowering her hands. Her face was a gray, emotionless mask. There was never any chance for us, was there? No, I replied, without a hint of hesitation. This farce was over. 1 month later, I stood outside City Hall, holding a crisp, new certificate of divorce. Ava stood across from me. In just 1 month, she had become frighteningly thin. The powerful, untouchable queen was gone, replaced by a woman consumed by exhaustion and despair. She gave me one last look, her lips parting as if to say something. I didn't give her the chance. I turned, got into a waiting Uber, and didn't look back. In the rearview mirror, her figure grew smaller and smaller, until she was just a tiny, insignificant black dot against the city skyline. 1 year later, I bought a white villa with a pool on the coast of the Aegean Sea. A friend came to visit and, over drinks, mentioned Ava. He said she was more successful than ever, and even more ruthless. A true legend in the business world. But she never dated anyone again. She was always alone, the silent ruler of a hollow empire, an island unto herself. Everyone said Ava Chun had become a machine, incapable of feeling. I was sipping an iced lemonade, sunglasses on, and just smiled faintly. Had she gone crazy? Maybe. But what did that have to do with me?